Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, and here I go again. You know, I'm constantly coming back to you because I haven't been able to reach you. I haven't been able to persuade you at any measure of considering the way to peace, the way to freedom, the way to prosperity, the way to joy of life, and the fulfillment of your dreams. I haven't moved you one iota towards that way. And I understand it is a difficult matter, especially when you're not familiar with it. But let me share something with you, ladies and gentlemen, that perhaps you have not considered. The way to peace is, and the things that I just mentioned, are the same way that it is when it comes to the family. The family. You see, the family and all families have been designed to live, to grow, to mature in a form or fashion that is natural. Absolutely natural. It doesn't call for any concocting. It doesn't call for any levying. It's natural. Look at insects. Let's look at ants. Ants do all the work they gotta do. They do it diligently. And they don't do it for money. They do it for the outcome. Look at the birds. The things that they do. They don't do it for the money. They do it for the outcome. Look at the squirrels, the gophers that's in your backyard tearing it up. They do what they do. I mean, they dig a hole in your yard, all over your yard. You have a little city under your yard. And they didn't do it for the money. They did it for the outcome. Now let's talk about the human family. The one man, the one woman. As a family, one is responsible for one thing, another is responsible for other things. The way they fixed it up, the woman basically was responsible for those things that are close around, like the home. Let's say the home or the tent or the cave. She was, let's say that is her responsibility. The man's responsibility is the things outward, away from the home. So what we basically mean when we're talking about the home is making it livable, making it comfortable, and other things that might be done. The work outside of the home is to make sure that in the home people can eat, that people got things that they can benefit from the outside. So one is going on the outside to do something. One is doing something on the inside that benefits the family. Now, that's kind of easy to understand, but let's let that family grow a little bit. Let's say we get some twins. Let me just say twins, a girl and a boy. They grow up. All of a sudden, the lady around the tent, the cage, or the house, whatever you want to call it, got some support. Now she doesn't have to do everything in the house herself. She can split it up between the other child who has grown up, who has matured in watching the mother do the things around the house and has been taught by the mother to do those same kinds of things as she's growing up. Now she's at that age where she can assist, she can do something. Likewise, the young boy who's grown up, watched his father doing the things that the father been doing, now he can go out with the father and he can do things with the father. Either they can make the things that they were doing easier, or they can stretch out and do more things because now they got some assistance. But let's not stop there. Let's increase the family. Let's increase the family wholeheartedly. Now you got a couple of females in the house. In the house now. I'm not in the cage. You might have somebody responsible for cooking breakfast, or somebody responsible for cooking lunch, or somebody responsible for cooking dinner. You can have all those three different people. Or you can have somebody that's responsible for washing clothes, or ironing clothes, or hanging clothes up, or doing the windows, or doing the floor. You got different jobs that can be handled by different people. And likewise with the male, they've watched the father. Now they can go out and make the job really easy for the father because they are all engaged in that. Or they can stretch out, broaden out, and do all kinds of additional things just because of the numbers. And what happens? It all comes back home. And everybody in that home, benefits. Those that didn't walk an inch out of that door, benefits. Those that didn't do a thing in that house, benefits. Because they all work together for the common good of all of them. That means it's one for all and all for one. That's family. Now, let's say the family didn't really stop there. The family grew. This time, there was an additional house with an additional family because these kids grew up and connected with someone else. And now they're experiencing and doing the same kind of practices that happened in the house that they learned in. Somebody doing the inside, somebody doing the outside. Somebody doing the outside, somebody doing the inside. As the family grows, it splits up, different people doing different things, making it easier for each job to be done, or broaden out and do additional things. And they all come in to the family. Now this is each household. Now let's think about spreading that household to 100 households. The natural order is still there. Somebody's doing the house, somebody's doing outside. Somebody's doing the house and broaden it up, somebody's doing outside and broaden it up. It's the same basic principle, natural. You do this, you engage yourself in the process, you reap benefits. You work in the house, that's your contribution. You work outside of the house, that's your contribution. You put it together, and everybody reaped the benefit. Everybody reached the benefit. Now, you notice there was not $1 transacted there. Not a single one. Now, somebody say, well, look, how do we get this house over here and this house over here perhaps doing the same kinds of things when there's not a job that's broad enough for that? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. You got human beings on earth, they got to eat. So are you trying to tell me there's only enough food for one family? And if there's only food for one family, then that means you get more people in the process, engaging in the process to create more food for a family, create more whatever they need or want or desire. That's how it's done. All of a sudden you got a whole nation of people, women and men, some working inside the house, some working outside the house, some working inside the schools, some working outside the schools, some working inside the medical profession, some working inside the education profession, some working on houses, some working on food, some working on clothing, some working on transportation. Everybody engaged in those things that the people have determined are essential for their benefit. And everybody doing their cut. By doing their cut, that same natural family structure works. You take from the reservoir of the goods and services that you have caused to exist what you need, want, and desire. Now, many people have said, well, you can't do it that way because it's just like going to buffet. You don't know, you're not used to it, so you go there and you just load up on stuff, Go back to your table and eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and everything is wasted. All this food is wasted, they say. Yeah, that is what happens when you're not used to something. That is what happens when you're not familiar. That is what happens when you don't have the right bringing, the right education. All of these kinds of things can happen. And even if you get thrown into something at one time, even the people who go to a buffet, after they've gone several times, they learn you don't need all this food. Go up there and get a serving. And you might want some more. If you do, then you go up there and get it. But you don't bring all that stuff back at your table, having people talking about you. And then you're probably a humongous size if you continue doing that kind of stuff. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, is that all of it, the resources come from the master. The need is of all the people. And since everybody would benefit from it, everybody engaged in the process, that makes everybody part owner in all the things that mankind has built. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how simple. I mean, you can't make that any more simple. Now, all of a sudden, the whole family. See, we're not talking about John's family, the Smith family, the Jackson family, the Kunaka family. We're talking about God's family. God's family. God is prepared for his family to live a life like this. A natural order of doing things. This is what God has prepared. This is God's family. This is not the white family. This is not the black family. This is not the Asian family. This is not the African family. This is God's family. That's what God prepared for his family. Now everybody has what they want. In fact, all of their dreams are being met. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been speaking this for years. And I have banked on this happening because I know the trick that's been played with money. I know the whole purpose of money. They say it has something to do with weights and measures and making sure that everybody got their little cut and that things could be handled in a respective order. But that's what they tell you. That's what they say. And that might have had a little value in what was going on. But the truth of the matter, it is to separate you. First of all, it legitimizes what has already taken place. The resources of the earth belong to God, given to the people. But there are those out there who have decided that they got to it, they saw it, so they're going to claim it. They're going to claim it, ladies and gentlemen, as their own. And even though you might need it, you've seen television pictures where people want to use the river, the water, and people go and build a dam because they don't want you to have the water unless they can get a benefit other than just water. And so now you got people trying to put ownership on stuff. That's one of the first sins. Not the first, but one of the first. Mankind trying to own something that they can't make. You cannot make what God has given out here. Now, you see, let me give you an example. You see all these robots and subhuman things that mankind is trying to make. They might make them look like you. They don't feel like you. They don't breathe like you. They don't move like you. They don't talk like you. And they don't think like you. Or they might have a computer brain, but it can break down. They don't do the thing. So what man trying to do is to imitate God. But I don't think you would say any subhuman manifestation would equal that of flesh and blood. So anyway, I'm talking about God's family. Now, when we start talking about money, these people have taken control of the resources of the earth. Now, you need access to these resources so you can have health care, education, food, clothing, and shelter. You need access to these resources. But since they have stolen them, taken them for themselves, now they know you need it. So what they need you to do is to do what you always would normally do, but since they own it, they come up with something called money to pay you a certain amount for doing the work that you have done. Now, with the money that they pay you, it does not allow you to do all those things you would like to do. It allows you to do some of those things. That's why they got credit and debt, so you can get more obligated to those who have stolen God's resources, your resources. And now you got to get money to buy food, clothing, and shelter. And now they can divide you because they can say they are nothing but murderers. They are nothing but rapists. They are nothing but robbers. They are nothing but dope dealers. These are the kind of people, they're misfits. They are not like us. You heard that expression before. So you want to cause pain and suffering on other folks. Make them go through some changes that you yourselves don't want to go through. And now you want to pay them minimum, super minimum wage. You already got your group, you pay your minimum wage. Now you're going to hedge that and pay these other people less than that. You crook. You low down, dirty crook. But that's what happens. That money allows it to happen. You say money is the root of all evil. Some people say the love of money. You can take that love out the way. Money is the root of all evil. Because now money is saying that you can get it and live and experience your dreams. It's not talking to everybody. It's talking to those who came up with the money. It's talking to those who are running that show, who are playing that game with you. Now you, who give 8 hours a day, working your heart out. Maybe, if you put a little overtime in, You might be able to pay your rent. You might be able to pay your mortgage. You might be able to get some food. But you must be, in many instances, living from paycheck to paycheck because you're letting man run your show. Now, I'm just telling you these things. And for years, I couldn't go out there and tell you these things like the preachers and the people who go to church. They talk about God all the time on Sundays and even on Wednesday nights or Tuesday nights when they come together, talking about what I'm sharing with you now as close as they can come to it. But then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, man, they might have a day off. They are out there in the streets legitimizing the anti-God way. You, my friends, you are out there working for some money so you can do what God says is already yours. And you want to work overtime, get second jobs so you can kind of do some things that you want to do that one job won't allow you to do. Working yourself to death, a slave to the max for some money from man so you can prove that you're somebody. Well, I have resisted that. And today I stand before you and I tell you, I got nothing. I got nothing. I got clothes that are hand-me-down from the Goodwill or from my kids who feel sorry for me and give me a pair of shoes or something like that, or who had access and gave me some transportation. Somebody gave it to me. I couldn't even get my kids into college because in order for me to do that, I had to sell out what God has shown me. God proved to me that God is real. You don't know that God is real. If you knew God was real, you wouldn't be. Look here. How many preachers are late on Sunday mornings because they worked late Saturday night or couldn't get off the job? How many preachers can't come to church on Sunday because they at work trying to make the dollar? Now see what they've done? That dollar's hampered you from even being over there on the day that you set aside, talk about God. And then you want to talk about God. How in the world can you talk about God? Do you know that the world goes on the way it does because your preachers don't know nothing about God? And the ones that you are giving so much money to that they don't have to go to a job, they are not doing anything but spreading the same old message around that allows you to work for the devil for 5 days a week and night and come to church on one day and listen to them tell you a bunch of crap so you can give them some of that money you made so they don't have to work, so they can live a luxurious life just like the folks behind the curtain. And you are there working your butt off. Working your butt off for money. Not for the family. Not for the love of the people. Not even for the love of God. You're out there working for the money so you can take care of you and those that are important to you. And in today's world, not even the people in your immediate family, all of them, are important to you. Let alone going next door and somebody over there important to you. So when I say the things that I said to you, I paid the price. I hate it. I mean, I hate missing out on life because you are dead. I want to drive one of the nicest cars you can ever drive, just like you do. I want to live in one of the nicest homes you could possibly live in, just like you do. And I want that home to be set up with all the things that I like, just like you do. I want to be able to have access to education, unlimited and unrestricted, from the womb to the tomb, just like you do. All of you want this. But there's only one way you can do it. That's the natural way. That's God's way. Now I sit and tell you, you've been tricked. You ain't going to buy into that. Why? Because you have sold out. Money is what you want. To hell with God, you need to pay your bills. To hell with God, you need a job. To hell with God, you got laws that are designed to prevent you from doing certain things. But you break those laws so you can do those things that are essential for your survival. To hell with God and the man behind the curtain. And so when I sit here and tell you these things, ladies and gentlemen, when I sit here and tell you today in the United States of America that you have shrunk so far away from God till you got a dictator in the White House. You have shrunk so far from God till you almost got a whole political party, Republicans, supporting that dictator in the White House. You have shrunk so far from God till you got white evangelicals and white fundamentalist Christians supporting a dictator. Because that dictator, they say they might not agree with him, but he gives them the power so they can exercise the same power that he is exercising over you. They can do it themselves. It makes them above the waters. That's all they're concerned about. They don't give a stink about you. That's why they're supporting the dictator. They think that he's the answer to their prayers. And I really can't be upset with them. How many people you know, I'm talking to everybody that's listening to me right now, how many people do you know? How many preachers do you know? How many men or women of God do you know that have shared this with you? I know some of you say you have. But those who say that you have, they don't even want you engaging in talking about stuff like this. You just step out of it. Yet, when the things get worse or bad, you feel the pain too. If it gets good, you feel the blessing too. But you don't do nothing in it. So you got somebody telling you about a God that is a know-nothing God. You're a leech. At least I talk and try to inform people about how the natural family works, how the natural order works. So, I don't have access to the things that you have worked hard and sold your soul out to get. Now, you talk about people who are entertainment, especially singers and dancers, people who make big money, second record deals and all that. You talk about them. You say they sold their soul out to make that kind of money. You say they sleep around. They worship demons and devils. Some of them you even say that they eat and engage themselves in fecal or boo-boo. You say that about these people. You say they just the lowest thing on the face of the earth because of what they do, just to try to survive. And you look at yourself differently. You're doing the same thing. What you do is not demanding for the purpose of the people behind the curtain, so they don't pay you as much. But you get paid nevertheless to be a slave. You get paid nevertheless to promote that people behind the curtain. You're not promoting God. And you sitting there talking about the people who are making millions of dollars, talking about they're no good, and you making minimum wage, and God knows you're no good. All of us are no stinking tail good until we can free ourselves up to be directly responsible for one another, just like the ants, just like the wasp, just like the bees, just like any other thing that is not using money. They are responsible for one another. And we are responsible for one another. And until we can accept that fact, we will always be a slave. And if you don't hurry up and accept that fact, you're going to be a godless nation, just like Russia. You're going to be a godless nation, just like the North Koreans. And I want to say a godless nation like the Philippines, but because they got a dictator now, I hear. But I was in the Philippines. You go to any Filipinos house, they got some pictures of Jesus up in there somewhere. They can't get no picture of God because he's invisible. But they got a picture of Jesus. So somebody told them about Jesus. It could have to do with the trick. You know how missionaries go into another country and trick them? Like they came to the New World and tricked the natives like they were friends, like God was with them until they stole it and took their land. I don't think they told the black people that. They just hit them side the head and brought them over here and drug them over here and treated them like stank. But anyway, it's all ungodly. So, am I going to get a chance to have before I die? Or do I have to wait until another life? I tell you, I would rather live it in this life. But I can't do it in this life knowing what I know. I cannot be like you. I know you feel like you're special. You got your little education. You went out there and found you a job. You might make, not minimum wage, you might make $13, $14 an hour. You might even make $22 an hour. Ooh, that's good compared to people who making minimum wage. Oh, $50 an hour. Oh, my God, look at you. You somebody now. You still in debt because the more money you get, the more things you want. The more things you want going to require some debt. Except unless you do it the natural way. Every last one of you. There would be no potholes in your street because they've been fixed. Oh, man. The infrastructure of your cities and your towns and your state and your nation and your rivers, all of that stuff would be absolutely magnificently beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And your girls would not be running around here getting pregnant. Because the boys wouldn't be running around here thinking that the only excitement they got is to trick some little girl out of having sex with them. There are so many other things in the world they can get involved in. There are so many things that they can get involved in until they might go to the point, and in time will, where they will only have sex with the opposite individual when they are trying to have kids. So I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, think about these things. I say I wanted to stand up and represent God before you so you can have some idea of what God's plan is like. So you don't have to be bought into that Trump stuff. You don't have to be bought into that Republican stuff. You don't have to stay stuck to that Democratic stuff. You can free yourself and get nobody to do it but you. You have to claim God. You have to want God. You have to, wanting God means you got to want the people. Because that's the only way you know God. By what God has done. All of the evidence. The food, the clothing, the resources of the earth, the people, what they can do. That's the only way you're going to know God. And if you love God, you have to respect that. And if you can't respect that, it's because you don't know God, you don't love God, you love money, and you hate those behind the curtain. But as long as they pour that money out there, and you can work 2 jobs, you're going that way. So, I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I talked a little bit long, and I had to talk this long because it's just that important. Some people say, well, let's talk 2 or 3 minutes, we might listen. Look, if all you want to hear is 2 or 3 minutes, you ain't going to change no way. You're one of the biggest devils out here. So I'm not talking to you. You're going to have to learn to listen a little bit longer. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus, and I would like to know one more time that I represent the voice of God's way, of God's plan. That's why I'm out here, to lift up God's way to peace, God's plan to life. So you don't have to accept man. So you don't have to accept Russia or China or America or any of these. You accept God because it is God's way that works, and only God's way. They're going to see you out of this hell. So I'll say bye-bye.